I'll do this, right? When I have the money, I'll be able to buy the house, and then I'll be successful, right? So they operate from a, when I have it, I'll do this, and then I'll become successful. I'll be that.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works, right? That's not how the mind works. Because if you look at the states of being, doing, and having, being is a state of creation, right? When you're being somebody, when you're being a person who is a vlogger, or you're being a person who is a photographer, or whatever it is you do, a writer, you know, whatever it is, when you're being that, you will, and you know that's who you are, right? That's because being is your identity. It's who I am, right? Like if I ask you this, did you smoke any cigarettes today?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not a smoker.
Because you're not a smoker, right? Your identity is you're not a smoker, so you don't even have to worry about the habits and behaviors associated with smoking, right? So if you're being a vlogger, if you're being that person and maintaining the characteristics that are of that person, the person who vlogs and writes and does all these things then you will do the behaviors. You don't have to worry about changing your behaviors. And if you do those behaviors and you're being that person, what eventually happens? You have what you want. Most people operate from a completely other side. Now, if being is creation, and doing is this state of transformation, right? And having is a state of completion. Why are people starting at the state of completion, right? And now they're also worried about, well, I don't have this, and so they start to defeat themselves. Now where their attention is on the things they don't have, and trying to avoid avoidance, right? And resisting instead of accepting and opening themselves up. And they're not working from a state of creation anymore, right? You ever notice, like, if you're stressed out about something or coming up with something for a deadline, and you're not just being the person who you're supposed to be being, it's really hard to like come up with good ideas and come up with good content because you're not being that person.
Exactly.
And so we're working from a state of completion, and like creation is like what we're searching for. What if we start from that place of being that person, right? So the question is then, who would I have to be, and what would I have to do to have what I want to have, right? And you answer that question, you're going to start from a place of being. You're going to start from, this is who I need to be, right? And if I just become that, like I want to have happiness, then you have to be all the things that a happy person is. Let's break down what a happy person is. Who is a happy person? What are the things that they're happy about? They don't stress about things. You know, what else? They don't resist what is, right? They don't try to control, as you were saying, things out of their control. I mean, this is just simple, right? So we have to become that person first, and once we become that person, habits and behaviors, you just do those things, right? If you're not a smoker, right, you're not going to smoke. You're not going to perform those habits, right? And you're going to have good health. If you are a smoker and you call yourself a smoker, and even if you quit smoking and you're counting, well, I've been 30 days without smoking, you still are identifying as a smoker. But here's the thing, like, you're not a smoker. Your name is, you know, whatever. Like, smoking is something you do. It's not something you are.
Exactly.
And people associate the things they do, the habits and behaviors, with who they are. And that's a big mistake, right? You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, totally.
So we need to start from a place of, most people are operating from a place of misidentification, right? They associate themselves with, I am fat, I am obese. Well, you're not fat, actually. You know what I mean? Like, you are, whatever your name is, Heather, you know, Steve. You're not actual fat. And that's the problem, is like when we associate, we misidentify with taking on the form of what is, it's just there, right? Like, there's maybe some extra body weight there because I don't feel good about myself and I overeat to give myself comfort, but that's not who I am. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, if we can...
It's totally true,
it's
man.
Crazy. But, like, this is where I'm saying, if you change your identity and people could change who they are, right? And start operating and realize, like, get the perspective of, I am not who I keep saying I am or telling myself I am. I'm better than that. I come from a place of love, compassion, you know, trust. All of these things that, like, you know, and I think it's like when someone says I'm fat, like, is that encrypted in your DNA somewhere? That, like, that's your programming system? Like, you're supposed to be like that? I don't think so.
You became that,
right?
Over time.
You placed that label on yourself. it's time to stop, identifying like that and realize I'm a being. I have a specific essence. This meat suit that I'm walking around in is my human body, but it's not my being. I'm a human being, right? This is the human part, the body, all the things you're seeing in the physical world, but the being is the essence, right? It's my mind. It's how I operate in the physical world. It guides everything.
Yeah.
So we have to get away from that and stop, associating ourselves with who we're actually not. And I think that's been my message recently, and I'm focused on I've been training for 10 years, a decade. Habits and behavior changes just don't work until you change the operating system. You have to change the beliefs and the values,
The programming.
and the identity, the programming, the subconscious programs that are running.
Yeah. And you look at, if you just go into your home, right, you can see what's running you. Like literally as you walk in. So when I go into my office and my studio, you just walk in and you're like, this guy's a content creator.
Yeah.
You don't you walk in, you see camera, you see microphone,
That's who he is. Yeah.
you see vision board, you see everything, and you're just like, man, this my wife and I, we both have studios like in the house. My studio is completely different than hers. She's an audio driven person, like an audio genius. I am visual, right? So you walk into my office, you see the camera equipment, you see the tripods, you see the lighting. If you go to her office, you see the lighting, you see you don't see the lighting. You see the audio, the amplifiers, the instruments
All
to
the
play.
sound engineering equipment,
all the sound engineering equipment. And you could literally okay, this person is audio. Now if you go into anybody's home, right, you can see what's running them. Like how many TVs do they have in their house?
Yeah.
Like where are the TVs? Like where's their dining area? Right? What's in their refrigerator? What's in their cabinet?
Absolutely.
Literally, you can just see what's running you, right? You can go on someone's phone and just open up their applications like Twitter feed, YouTube feed, and you can see what's running those people.
Right.
Like me, I surround myself with prosperous ideas, right? So I am always constantly want to keep prosperous ideas in my sphere of influence. No negative stuff. So if you go on my YouTube feed, you'll see all these motivational speakers. You'll see all these influencers talking about mindset and all that control.
Yeah.
And it's always focused on that specific thing. Happiness, going for what you want, going for pushing towards your dreams. And then it's also manifest through in my content as well, right? It's just letting go, just doing what you can control. So at the end of the day, all I can focus on is what's going to keep me in that winning position.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed.
Being at cause versus being effect. And this is simply a way to describe it. The world's happening for you is being at cause versus the world's happening to me, right? Victim mentality.
Yep.
And if you're at that effect side, you're going to lose every time. It's going to be painful, right? Because you could take an effect that you can, a circumstantial situation where you find yourself in, and you're like, well, why did that happen to me, or how did that happen to me? And you can reframe it into cause every single time with every single scenario, because being in the effect side is powerless, right? Somebody yells, cuts you off, and calls you a jerk, and you even say anything back to that person, right? You're at the effect side. You have no power there, but you just wave to him and say, man, I wonder what's going on with him today, He loses every power that he has that he's trying to cause on you, and you now become cause. You know what I mean? So it's just about reframing everything in life that you feel is affecting you and turning it into cause.
Yeah, man.
It's one of the principles, of life.
Yeah, it's exactly. And just focusing, man. It all stems from taking action, right? Once you first take that action, I often find myself asking, so, all right, Caesar, you talk about all this action stuff. What does it look like, right? So this is where I go from a talking head video where I'm just preaching action, action, action to me taking you through my day. This right here is action, right? I'm already successful because now I hit record. Now all I have one more step to do. So I worked out, I meditated, hit record. Now the final step is just putting it all together and publishing. Once I do that, that day is successful. Now once you have several successful days, now you have that compound effect. And then you start looking around, and whatever your attention is towards acquiring, it just comes into your life because the universe is all about progression, and the universe likes speed and it likes consistency, right? So the more you can play into that and play that role, the best you're going to get rewarded, right? So
absolutely,
yeah,
and
it's-
realize that time's going to happen whether you like it or not at the same clip, and we all have the same time every day. The billionaire, you know, what's his name from Bridgewater, you know, hedge fund, Ray Dalio, you know, manages multi-billion-dollar hedge funds, has the same hours in the day that we have, right? I mean, it's how you spend it. It's like how are you putting stock into where you know, place that time in the hierarchy of you know, what you value and what you believe.
Exactly.
So it's a really interesting thing, like to think about how we do, how you were just saying, like you are doing all the things because you are that person. Like you already see yourself as somebody who is a video producer or a video vlogger, like I don't know, whatever label you want to put on it, but you're being that person, and because that's who you are and who you say you are, you're doing all the things. And so maybe you don't have everything you want right now, but you've gotten a lot of it because of that. Whereas here's where we fall into the trap, and this is like personal trainers, this is anybody in businesses. When I have the right marketing strategy, when I have how many times you hear that? You know, what's the strategy? What's the certification I need to get? You know, how do because when I do that, when I have that, then I'll be able to do the programming or do the sales better, and then I'll have, you know, I'll be the person, I'll be successful, I'll be that person. We need to start from the opposite end. It's like, what does a successful person do? What are the habits and behaviors that they elicit? Let's do those things, become that person. And here's the thing too, if you can only think about what's going wrong in your life and what you don't have, if you can't visualize the future that you actually want, I asked my mom, she's got some neck problems, right? And she deals with some things. She doesn't feel good because she has this like neck that like she's a little bit crooked, and she just feels very self-conscious because of it. And I said to her one day, I'm like, Mom, all you think about is how, like, because all I hear is like, you know, my neck is in pain today. I hate how I look. It's not like all she talks about is what she doesn't want, and she's trying to. And so whenever you're putting your attention on the things you don't want, life is going to show you those things in your universe to reaffirm, because that's a belief you're putting out there. So I said to her, have you ever thought about what you want it to look like if this didn't exist? Like if this didn't exist and you were looking the way you wanted to and feeling and acting the way you wanted to, what would that look like? And she couldn't really like bring it up in her head because she's never done it before. And I said, see where your attention is? And then once she did, right, she created this vision in her head, and then she had a picture. I'm like, and her whole physiology changed. She looked so different. She looked relaxed. She was like, yeah, she had her eyes closed. I was helping her visualize. She was like, yeah, I feel great. I'd go out socially. Like her body, language completely shifted, right? From this like closed off, you know, scared to, oh my God, so relaxed, so free, so open, so happy. Everything changes because the internal representation we have in our head of events, of the thoughts, because thoughts aren't real, we create them. They completely shifted. And so the thought she had about creating something coming from a place of possibility versus probability, what's happened in the past, like those are the same pictures. Like we can literally like we can create both of them in our head. Like we do create both of them in our head because we worry about anxiety and what could be, like what may happen in the future. The anxiety is simply worrying about what may happen in the future, but we don't really know what's going to happen in the future.
No, we don't. All we can do is focus on today.
But you have to have a vision of what it is you would like things to look like. What does that picture in your mind look like where you want to be? What are the sounds associated with?
And you know, like,
what are the feelings
you went and did that NLP thing, right? And they just kept on talking about imagery, right?
Oh my God.
So it's like I was doing like a little I was reading KRS-One.
Yeah.
He did a talk, right? I'll try to find it and link that also. Yeah. And he was talking about like how your words become things, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, yo, imagination, right? Image, nation, right? You're creating a nation around your image, right? So like based on the images that you see, so based on the images that you see on the day-to-day, like when you close your eyes, you can dream and put yourself in any place or anywhere that you want. And in that moment, you can like go beyond your physical presence. So there, right, I started just doing some like playing with my imagination and putting myself in places where I want to be.
Yeah.
But then what you'll notice is it's weak at first because you're thinking about where you want to be, but then you're also thinking about where you are now.
Yeah.
But the more repetition you do it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like,
Absolutely.
personal training, time under tension.
It's digging that ditch and that rut and making it deeper and deeper, making the grooves.
Yeah,
deeper
so
and
it's
deeper.
like, we always talk like time under tension produce muscle growth, right? So time under tension or time under your imagination, right? Putting yourself under that tension with meditation, the longer you can do it and hold that image, the stronger that image is going to become.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be living within that image.
Let me give you a perfect example. So my brother, I talked to him on the phone yesterday for about an hour, and he's got a lot of things going on in his life, some marital things, just life challenges, spousal stuff. And he's a contractor, right? Loves his job. A very creative guy. He told me, so his life is in disarray. He's really like depressed, upset, and anxious, all these things. And he said to me yesterday, he's like, every single day I wake up, he's like, I love my job. I wake up, he's like, and I know the job I'm going to for the day. He's like, I picture in my head how I want to lay out this countertop, how I want to paint this wall, how I want to lay the flooring down. And he's like, I imagine it all in my head, and then I go do it. And he's like, when I'm there, I'm like the happiest I ever am at my day. And then when I go home, he's like, I stress out. I think about all these things that I have at home that I don't like. And I'm like, Greg, right? His name's Greg. I was like, Greg, isn't this beautiful? I reframed it for him and I said, isn't it amazing that you have this awareness that you can create with your imagination things that you actually put into the physical world, and you now know that you can create these things as visions of what you do at work and then actually go and do it, and it turns out just exactly how you want it, and you're completely happy and you're in flow state that entire time, right? Like time just goes by and you're because flow state is this happy state where there's no resistance on you. And so I said to him, imagine this, right? Let's take that same concept that you're using for your work to get into the happiest you are throughout your day, and let's apply it to the other areas of your life. Let's think about how would I want my life to go when I go home, when I'm with my spouse, when I'm with my son, when I'm with every other relationship. Let's picture how I want that to go, and then carry that out. Because all you're thinking about with work is about possibility and creation. Because you are being that person. You're not being that person. You're operating from an effect, whereas everything's happening to you on the home life. And so you need to completely shift your point of view and use that principle as the gift to you right now is the fact that you know it works because you do it for your work. So you have that ability now to know, and this awareness that you can shift this into your life and now create the life you want. And think about how happy you would be. And when I said that to him, everything shifted. Everything shifted. And I had the best conversation I maybe ever had with my brother yesterday.
And you know what's super meta? All these discussions need to happen on a continuous basis, because as we're talking, right, I never even seen your brother Greg before, but as you're saying Greg, your brother, and construction, pictures is in my mind of associations with that, right? So now as you're having these prosperous conversations, what's going to happen is going to put those pictures in his mind, and he's going to constantly seek that throughout his day. Right, those are the little fruits that he's looking for.
The only way when you walk into the coffee shop, the only way I recognize you is because of the picture I have in my head from knowing you and from seeing you the first time. Oh, that's Caesar. That's how I recognize who you are. Literally, it's the picture that I formed in my head. This isn't real.
And this is and these are stories too, right? It's sort of like stories. Basically, we go on our own little adventures. We don't know the intricate details of said adventures, but when we come together, we're talking, trading stories, trading bars, and those stories become images in our minds.
Absolutely.
So when you're saying you're successful here, pictures of going in my mind of what successful there looks like. And if that's something that I want, I just practice the same behaviors.
And everybody has a different map of their mind, right? But what we have to remember, and this is one of the presuppositions in NLP, things that we can assume to be true, is that the map is not the territory.
Yo, I love that.
So everyone has an internal map. Their mind's eye creates a map of everything that they view in the physical world, right? which we create our own reality with that. But the map itself that we create in our head is not the actual territory. And if you can remember that your thoughts are not things, right? Your thoughts are just thoughts. They're not real.
Yeah.
Even just what I said just now is already in the past. The only thing that exists right now is present time.
Yeah.
Consciousness. So as soon as you, there's like 3 levels of thinking, right? There's like thought, which is the lowest level. There's like mind, and then there's consciousness. Consciousness is only paying attention to 5 senses and all the submodalities of those 5 senses that we experience the world in, and literally that's it. No judgment, nothing else. No thought, no judgment, just literally being in pure consciousness and just curiosity and experiencing, right? That's the highest level of thinking.
Yo, that's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? But most people work from the lowest level of thinking, of thought. Why is this? Why is this person looking at me like this? Are they staring at my legs? Are they looking at my face? Is there something in my teeth? You know what I mean? All these thoughts.
Putting
And
you
it
in
just
that.
puts them in fight or flight and in fear. But that's all irrational, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like we need real fear. You know,
And it's like believing in the unseen, right? And it's like, what can't
That's called
you
faith.
See? Yeah, that's called faith. It's like, what is the unseen that you want to believe in?
Yeah.
You're the only one that can drive that said belief. You could be that rock star. You could host your own TV show. You can't, and this is where I get into deep discussion with other content creators, is because although you put your content out there, you can't control the response that you get. You can't control the likes that you get. You can't control the viewers that see said content. All you can do is be the producer and the observer of the same thing.
and the people who want to hear that message will come. And they'll find you.
Exactly.
If it resonates with them. And those are the people you want hearing it anyway. You know what I mean? You don't want to force feed it down anybody's throat. Because the people are just gonna, they're gonna be resentful for that.
Exactly. It's like, who's this preacher person?
Right.
It's like somebody who's in search of, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and when the teacher is ready, the student is going to appear.
Yeah.
It's like the laws of opposites, right? You can't have one without the other. So when my students is ready, they will appear. When I'm ready, my teachers will appear.
Think about it this way, like when it comes to let's say you got an email marketer, right? And they just keep hitting you with all these emails, join my program. You're very hesitant about joining that program because this person's just like this barrage in your face. But if you go out and you go Google search for a program that you're interested in, that really speaks to you, and you go find it and search for it yourself, don't you find that you take that course and much more seriously, and you put much more value into what you find and discover yourself versus the people that are trying to cram something down your throat and you're just like, all right, I'll try it. You're never as happy as when you're finding yourself.
It's just
so you think about that principle, just for the content you're putting out as a creator, right? I don't worry about how many listens my podcast gets.
No,
I just put the content out there, and if people, I get text messages and messages once in a while from trainers that said, I loved the message that you said, that was so true, that really resonated with me. Thank you, that helped me. That's what I care about. That'll spread around.
Yeah,
they'll pass it to somebody who thinks just like them.
Yeah. For instance, there's this guy that I never liked. He's his name is Jim Jones. He's a rapper, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he released an album earlier this year, and he went through some crazy legal problems, and then he was having an interview, and the disc jockeys, the DJs, were just praising this interview. I mean, his album. So I'm like, they were saying that he's a classic and all this.
Interesting.
So I'm like, man, let me go give this a listen. I was going to the dealership, and then I was like, let me go and after the dealership, bump this in the car on the way home. Album is spectacular.
Is it really?
Right? And
but you may not have given it a chance.
Yeah, this is his 12th album. I've never listened to any of his albums previously.
Oh wow.
This is his 12th project. So what happens if you would have just gave up 6 projects in?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
For just that one listen.
Right.
This is his 12th body of work.
Wow.
And this one is a really great album. And I've been listening to it all weekend.
Wow.
And I've been sharing it with all my friends.
And they're enjoying it too, yeah.
And they're enjoying it too.
Right.
So it's the same thing. It's just take action anyway.
Yeah.
You never know down the line when somebody 20 years down, especially was that black guy that you sent me?
Les Brown.
Les Brown.
Yeah.
You sent me something that he talked about 20 years ago.
Yeah, maybe more.
Maybe more.
25,
And
30
it
years
still
ago.
resonates,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And I just discovered it 20 years down,
Yeah.
right? What if he never would have put that out there, right? And it's the same thing, just put it out there.
Right.
The 20-year-old from now who's born today and turns 20, right?
Yeah.
20 years from now needs to hear this message to take them
Absolutely.
to that next level.
Absolutely.
To like create the next thing that's going to continue pushing consciousness
Absolutely, man.
to its limits.
This provides that inspiration, that spark.
Yep. Totally, man.
I love it.